the day I learned my son, Michael, had excluded me from my grandson Tyler's wedding, a crack formed in my heart that no mending could fix. It was a chilly February morning in 2025, just 2 weeks before the big day, and I was in my kitchen in Millersburg, Ohio, baking Tyler's favorite apple pie, a tradition since he was a boy. My daughter-in-law, Rachel, had called, her voice syrupy sweet, to update me. "Eleanor," she said, "the guest list is finalized, and, well, it's a small, modern affair. We thought it best if you watched from home. Tyler understands." Michael's voice chimed in, flat and firm, "Mom, it's for the best. You'd struggle with the crowd." If you're tuning into Granny Untold Stories, please subscribe and drop a comment. Tell me your favorite family memory and where you're watching from. We might give you a shout out next time. Now, let me take you through the pain and the power of what happened next. I was 75, my hands gnarled from arthritis but still steady enough to knead dough. I'd raised Michael alone after his father, Paul, died in a factory accident when Michael was 5. I'd worked 2 jobs, waitressing and bookkeeping, to send him to college, even selling my mother's ring to cover his tuition. Tyler, my grandson, was the light of my life, a gentle soul who'd spent summers helping me tend the garden. The wedding was to be at a chic venue in Columbus, a far cry from our modest roots, and I'd planned to wear my sapphire dress, a gift from Paul, to honor the occasion. But Rachel's words, "You'd struggle with the crowd," stung like a slap. Michael's silence was worse. I gripped the phone, my voice trembling. "Michael, I'm Tyler's grandmother. I want to be there." He sighed, impatient. "Mom, it's not personal. Rachel's curating a vibe, young, upscale. You'd feel out of place. We'll send you photos." Rachel cut in, her tone sharpening. "Eleanor, it's about aesthetics. You're Kane, your age, it might upset the guests. Maybe a live stream would suit you better." Before I could protest, the call ended. I stood there, pie cooling, the kitchen silent except for the tick of the clock. My eyes fell on a photo of Tyler at 6, grinning with a sunflower he'd picked for me. Where was my family? I whispered to the empty room, "They think I'm invisible. But I've got one last fight in me." That night, I couldn't sleep. The exclusion wasn't just about the wedding, it was a signal. They were pushing me out, and I needed to know why. The next morning, I sat at my oak table, the same one where Michael and Tyler had done homework, and opened a locked box beneath it. Inside were my secrets, deeds to a farmhouse I'd inherited, now worth $600,000, and a stock portfolio I'd built from years of frugal living, totaling $1.5 million. After Paul's death, I'd turned grief into grit, working overtime, investing in local businesses, and buying land that boomed with Columbus's growth. Michael thought I lived on a pension, a quaint old lady in a creaky house. He didn't know I'd been his safety net, loaning him $70,000 for his first car dealership and $30,000 for their Columbus move. But Rachel's words echoed, "Aesthetics, you're Kane, your age." I called my attorney, Helen Grayson, a stern woman who'd handled my estate since Paul's passing. "Helen," I said, my voice steady, "I need to rewrite my will. Michael and Rachel get nothing." Helen paused, her breath catching. "Eleanor, that's your son. Are you certain?" I glanced at a photo of Michael at his high school graduation, his arm around me, beaming. "He chose silence over me," I said. "I'm giving it to the Millersburg Children's Home. They gave Tyler a scholarship when he needed it. They deserve it more." Helen arrived that afternoon, her briefcase heavy with papers. We sat by the fireplace, the crackle of logs a backdrop to my resolve. I handed her the box's contents, deeds, stock certificates, bank statements. $2.1 million, I said. All to the children's home, with a $250,000 trust for Tyler, untouchable by his parents. Helen nodded, scribbling. And Michael? She asked. A letter, I replied. He needs to face his choice. I wrote it that night, the pen scratching against paper. Michael, I gave you my life, my sweat, my tears, my savings. I thought you'd honor that. But when Rachel mocked my age and you let her, you broke our bond. Tyler gets a trust, guide him right. The rest goes to those who lifted us up. You get this truth, love requires courage. Eleanor. I sealed it, my signature bold, and felt a shift inside me, not anger, but clarity. But I needed proof of their intent. I called my neighbor, Frank, a retired accountant. Frank, I said, dig into Michael and Rachel's finances. I need to know what they're after. Frank agreed. Give me a few days, Ellie. I hung up, sipped my herbal tea, and watched the snow fall outside. They thought my age was my weakness. They'd learn it was my strength. 3 days later, Frank handed me a folder, his face grim. Michael's dealership was sinking, $200,000 in debt from a bad expansion. Rachel had spent $90,000 on a new wardrobe and a luxury SUV, maxing out their credit. They'd taken a second mortgage, and Rachel had inquired about a conservatorship to control my assets if I were incapacitated. The wedding exclusion wasn't about aesthetics, it was about hiding their desperation. I decided to test them. I called Michael, voice frail. Son, my health's slipping. I might need help with my finances. Can you come by? His response was eager. Of course, Mom. Rachel and I will be there tomorrow with Tyler. I smiled. Bring the family. I've got papers to sign. The next day, they arrived, Michael in a suit, Rachel in stilettos, Tyler looking uneasy. I served lemonade, my hands trembling on purpose. I've been thinking, I said, maybe Rachel's right about my age. I've drafted a power of attorney for you. Michael's eyes widened, and Rachel leaned in, her smile predatory. That's generous, Eleanor, she said. We'll take good care of you. Tyler frowned but stayed quiet. I slid an envelope across the table, a fake power of attorney granting access to a dummy $100,000 account. Michael signed quickly, Rachel adding her signature with a flourish. Perfect, she said. We'll find you a nice home. I nodded. Let's celebrate at the wedding rehearsal dinner. I'll come by quietly. That night, at the rehearsal dinner in Columbus, I arrived uninvited, blending with the crowd. Rachel handed me a glass of champagne, her eyes glinting. For you, Eleanor, she said, her hand lingering as she poured. I watched her slip a tiny drop from a vial, sedative, no doubt, to make me appear frail. I smiled, swapped my glass with hers when she turned, and watched her sip. Within minutes, she swayed, blaming the champagne. I left, knowing Detective Mara Jenkins, a friend from the library, was monitoring. The wedding day dawned bright, February 14, 2025, at a sleek Columbus venue. I wasn't on the guest list, but I arrived early, dressed in my sapphire gown, cane in hand. The ceremony was beautiful, Tyler in a tux, his bride, Lily, radiant. Michael and Rachel beamed from the front row, oblivious. I sat in the back, unnoticed, my heart swelling for Tyler but breaking for Michael's betrayal. After the vows, at the reception, I approached Michael. Mom, he said, surprised. Rachel joined him, her face tightening. Eleanor, you shouldn't be here. I held up an envelope. I brought your wedding gift. Michael took it, frowning, while Rachel smirked. Inside was the fake power of attorney they'd signed, now marked void. "What's this?" Michael asked. Before I could answer, Detective Jenkins stepped forward, flanked by officers. "Rachel Harris, you're under investigation for attempted fraud and endangerment," she said, holding up a vial from the rehearsal dinner. "We found sedative residue in the champagne you served Eleanor. Your fingerprints are on it." Rachel's face drained. "This is absurd." "I didn't." I stepped closer, voice steady. "I saw you, Rachel. You tried to drug me to force that power of attorney. I switched the glasses. You felt it yourself." Michael turned to her, stunned. "You did what?" Rachel stammered, "It was just to help her, Michael." Jenkins cuffed her. "You'll explain that downtown." As Rachel was led away, Michael sank into a chair. "Mom, I didn't know. We're broke, the dealership, the debts." I looked at him, my son, lost to greed. "You knew enough, Michael. You let her mock me, plot against me." I handed him another envelope, his copy of my will. He opened it, his hands shaking. The $2.1 million, farmhouse, stocks, savings, went to the Millersburg Children's Home. Tyler's $250,000 trust was secure. The letter inside read, "Michael, I gave you my all. But your silence when Rachel mocked my age broke us. Tyler gets a future, guide him. The rest goes to those who built us. Love requires courage. Eleanor." Michael's eyes filled. "Mom, please." I was desperate. I shook my head. "Desperation isn't an excuse, Michael. Tyler deserves better." The crowd murmured, phones out, the scandal spreading. The children's home called later, ecstatic about the donation, planning a Harris wing in my name. A year later, I sat on my balcony in Asheville, North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains stretching before me. Rachel served 6 months for fraud, her social circle gone. Michael's dealership limped on, but he's rebuilding, for Tyler. My grandson visits monthly, his wife Lily in tow. "Grandma Ellie," he said last time, "thank you for the trust. Can we plant a garden here?" I hugged him, my heart full. I sold the farmhouse, using the proceeds to buy this cottage, living off a modest $150,000 I kept. The children's home wing opened 6 months ago, a quiet ceremony with children's laughter. A plaque reads, "In honor of Eleanor Harris, Guardian of Hope." I don't need the money, I needed dignity. Rachel and Michael thought my age made me powerless, but it gave me perspective. I'd spent decades building for my son, but he chose greed over me. So I gave it to those who didn't. Sometimes, I think of that wedding, Rachel's sneer fading as cuffs clicked. I don't hate her, I pity her blindness. The home sent me drawings from the kids, and I framed one by Tyler's old sunflower sketch. I sleep well now, the mountain air my solace. If Michael ever wonders where it went wrong, he can look at that empty seat at Tyler's wedding. That's the future I rewrote for him. Thanks for joining Granny Untold Stories. Subscribe, share your thoughts below. What would you have done? Until next time, keep your heart fierce and your spirit free.